Good evening. Bullet holes in a Vaughan home have left neighbors on edge. The shots fired overnight.
It's the second time this month the same house has been targeted by gunfire, and police now say it's connected to the GTA's tow truck wars. CTV's Janice Golding is live tonight at the scene with the details. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Well, I can tell you Vaughan residents are expressing concern after a spate of shootings in the area, including 2 overnight. 2 crime scenes, 2 minutes apart. Both houses shot at on 2 separate occasions this month. On September the 6th, bullets rang out at a home on Farrell Road.
Last time I heard, I think it was 5 to 7 shots.
A home police say was targeted again overnight.
So I was awake 3:38, I think the exact time was, and I heard 3 shots.
Minutes later, a house on Allison Ann Way, just a few blocks away, was also fired on.
At 3:40, I've heard like 6 or 8 shots to that house.
In total, there have been 6 shootings in Vaughan in the month of September at 4 separate addresses. All are being linked and are considered, as I say, targeted.
Linked and targeted, but how exactly, police aren't saying. However, CTV News has learned that the home on Farrell Road was owned by Alexander Vinogradsky, the former owner of Paramount Towing. The 39-year-old was gunned down in March 2024 outside a plaza in Toronto following years of conflict and an arrest in relation to a deadly tow truck turf war.
There are no tow trucks in our area. There are no tow trucks in driveways. There are no people I see here from the tow truck industry. So to hear that connection and what's going on, it's and what's being alluded to is obviously concerning.
Police did arrest one of the suspects in this investigation, 23-year-old Kajeen Isaiah Daman of Innisfil, who was arrested shortly after shots were fired on a nearby home on Lady Angela Lane.
Perhaps the shooters themselves, they just don't care about the police, and they're not even intimidated by the police, and that's what worries me.
But the continued shooting spree is clearly upsetting area residents.
It's frightening to think about going out and what happens if one of these bullets mistakenly hits someone.
When you hear about the way that the criminal justice system and the bail system is not functioning properly, or that it tends to provide more protection for the criminals rather than the victims, and I would say even the indirect victims, like the people who live in this community who are wondering, what the heck's going on?
Police say they understand people are concerned, although they try to offer residents some reassurance today.
The homes themselves that were the targets were the only things that were struck by any gunfire. No people, no homes that were mistaken.
Meanwhile, they say they're looking for a silver SUV. The surveillance video obtained by CTV News actually shows a car backing away from the shooting scene on Farrell Road in the seconds after the shots rang out this morning. Stephen Del Duca, the city's mayor, is urging the federal government to toughen bail laws, saying we need to do more to keep criminals off the street. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. In Durham region, police are looking for suspects after shots were fired at a towing company early this morning. At around 2:20, investigators say a black car pulled up outside a business on Notion Road in Pickering. Police say a man got out of the car and fired several shots at the business. An employee of the business was in the parking lot at the time, but they were not hurt. Investigators found several shell casings at the scene, and they're calling this an isolated incident.
Just ahead on CTV News tonight, even before the province makes its official announcement on the future of speed cameras here in Ontario, we have a reaction from police and politicians who say scrapping the cameras would be a bad idea. But first, the TTC has announced a new service aimed at improving safety for those on the subway. Teams of crisis workers will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as part of a pilot project. CTV's Allison Hurst is live tonight with more. Allison.
Nathan, the pilot program will see care workers available on TTC Line 1 24/7, and they'll be able to respond to any safety and security concerns reported by riders.
TTC takes your safety very seriously.
To bolster safety, 3 teams of Toronto Community Service crisis workers are going to be embedded in 3 TTC stations, ready to respond to riders in crisis.
These highly trained mental health workers like Lassar will be stationed at Spadina, Union, and Bloor and Yonge stations, and will be deployed as needed to help along the U shape of Line 1.
They'll be available 24/7, and though officials encourage riders to use the Safe TTC app or call 211 to report any concerns, the TTC is still working on making cell service available across the entire system.
75% of the entire system, TTC system, has self-service. And hopefully by 2026, everyone will get it.
The program will cost $1.8 million per year, but $540,000 for the rest of this year.
TTCCS crisis workers are trained mental health professionals who provide mobile, in-person mental health supports, connections to services, and post-crisis follow-up support.
Most riders we spoke with agree changes are needed to make them feel safe.
I think that definitely could help.
No matter what resource you have, if you're standing right next to that person, there's really no control.
Good if the aim is to help people having a hard time.
But City Councillor Brad Bradford says it falls far short of what's needed.
We need more of a presence of transit police officers and special constables. That has to be part of the solution, and unfortunately this doesn't include that.
Toronto's police chief says officers will still respond to dangerous situations.
This pilot reflects what we're talking about in the sector, certainly in the Toronto Police, and that is that mental health is health and should be treated that way, first and foremost.
The mayor will bring an item to the October 8th council meeting outlining the pilot project in more detail. And TTC officials say again that any of those concerns can be reported through the Safe TTC app, also by calling 211. And of course, you can also go straight to a TTC staff member and report it to them directly. The pilot project gets underway November 15th. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. Time now for our first look at the forecast, and it isn't too bad at this hour, but certainly it has been an unsettled Wednesday. Definitely humidity out there. Fortunately, not cold at all. Warm for this time of year. The question is, what's heading our way this evening? And we're definitely anticipating some rain. Lindsay Morrison is here with what we're working with. Lindsay.
Yeah, Michelle, another round of wet weather is knocking on our door for this evening. If you're joining us from Milton, you've got some wet weather just starting to creep into your neck of the woods. Caledon, Bolton, up north toward Alliston and Barrie. It's been quite unsettled in Kitchener-Waterloo. And eventually this is going to impact us here in the GTA as we progress through the nighttime hours downtown Toronto, even at risk of a thunderstorm. Severe thunderstorm warnings right now in extreme southwest Ontario. It is muggy once again. 21 degrees feels like 26 at this hour. We've got an easterly wind that is pretty light. Here's your overnight at a glance. Once again, it is going to be warm. 18 for the low. Coming up, we'll show you just how unsettled it's going to be into the day tomorrow and when we are in for another run of sun. That's coming up. For now, Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. A pedestrian is in life-threatening condition after being struck in Brampton this morning. Peel police say it happened at Durham Road and East Drive just after 6 a.m. The pedestrian was taken to a trauma center with life-threatening injuries. The driver remained on scene. Police are asking commuters to avoid the area. Well, we're expecting an announcement from the Premier tomorrow about the future of speed cameras in this province.
Doug Ford has made no secret about how he feels. And today, the mayor and police chief spoke out about why they think the devices are a valuable safety tool. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has the details.
They've been a fixation for the Premier the last few weeks. Speed cameras pointed at municipal roads to nab speeders. While his government paved the way for them 5 years ago, Doug Ford now calls them
just a tax grab.
Ford warned if cities didn't stop using the cameras,
I'm going to help them get rid of them very shortly.
The Association of Chiefs of Police cautioned that taking cameras out would put pedestrians at risk, urging the Premier to reconsider. Toronto's police chief didn't want to get into camera politics.
Our approach to traffic enforcement and road safety is a holistic approach that involves many considerations, speed cameras being one.
But the mayor emphatic.
We know speed kills. We know speed cameras work, according to all the research, especially from sick kids. Why wouldn't we have it?
While he hasn't named names, Ford insists that behind closed doors, some mayors admit the cameras aren't about road safety.
They tell me straight out, well, it's not about that. We need the money, and we're going to put it towards roads and this and that.
He seems ready to take money out of the equation.
We're going to be giving municipalities across the province a lot of money to put in all sorts of street calming methods, from the little turnabouts, from speed bumps to flashing signs.
An alternative to speed cameras that have been vandalized dozens of times in Toronto and beyond.
I think it's idiotic to remove them. And I actually am kind of appalled that the Premier thinks that, he's supporting the vandalism of this public property. I think it's really awful.
Ford has said he doesn't condone the vandalism, but understands the frustration. Toronto City Councillor Josh Mallow accuses Ford of playing politics with kids' safety, planning a motion at council to create a reasonable threshold for tickets.
Ending the use of speed cameras would be the latest in a line of Ford government decisions aimed at saving drivers money. It comes after a ban on road tolls, congestion pricing, and a carbon tax. Their moves critics of the PC government have called a distraction. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Students at Toronto Metropolitan University held a walkout this afternoon in response to a video that appears to show the violent arrest of a protester by a security guard. Students are demanding accountability after they claim a TMU security guard assaulted a pro-Palestinian student. The incident was captured on camera at a protest on campus outside an event with Federal Artificial Intelligence Minister Evan Solomon. They believe it's part of a bigger issue at universities and are calling for major changes, as well as an apology from the school.
There has been mass suppression of pro-Palestine advocacy from the student body, from faculty, from community members. And so what we witnessed here at TMU was just another example. It is not an isolated incident.
A statement from the university says it respects community members' right to demonstrate on matters that are important to them. At the same time, it says it also expects TMU community members to conduct themselves regardless of differences with respect and civility. Still to come tonight, the Jays didn't help themselves with the loss last night, but the race to clinch the AL East continues. We're live outside the Rogers Centre as the team gets set for Game 2 against the Red Sox.
But first, the Supreme Court of Canada has delayed the execution of hundreds of ostriches at a BC farm. The cull will remain on hold until the High Court considers an application for leave to appeal. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has been on the farm in the West Kootenay region of BC for days, preparing for the cull of nearly 400 birds. The CFIA will remain there, maintaining custody of the ostriches until the ruling is made. The cull order was given shortly after avian flu was detected in the flock last December. Tensions have been mounting at the farm, and overnight, a hay wall was set on fire.
In question period, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre pressed the PM about comments made by his public safety minister, appearing to question Ottawa's plans for a gun buyback program.
Mr. Speaker, the public safety minister has admitted that going after farmers and hunters rifles is not going to fight crime. So the only reason to do this is politics. If he was telling the truth, then why not reverse? If not, why isn't he fired?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the gun registry, what the government is doing with the gun registry is putting in place a much more efficient way, an efficient way for Canadians to voluntarily return prohibited firearms, for fair compensation. This government is going to do it right.
The public safety minister says he was being recorded without his knowledge in a private conversation. In it, he suggested he would approach the gun buyback effort differently and suggested the PM was sticking with the policy to appease voters in Quebec. Carney says he has confidence in his minister remaining in the role.
The Prime Minister has been the victim of an alleged privacy breach by an employee of Canada's largest bank.
The RCMP have criminally charged a 23-year-old man with 4 charges, including fraud and identity theft. CTV's Abigail Beeman has the details.
It all started in July with a tip-off complaint from RBC to the Mounties. Police accused then-bank employee Ibrahim El Hakim of accessing, among other things, Prime Minister Mark Carney's personal data. The 23-year-old faces 4 charges: fraud over $5,000, unauthorized use of computer, identity theft, and trafficking in identity information. RCMP won't say if they believe the suspect is linked to organized crime.
This is the Prime Minister's financial information. And what I gather from this is that this is clearly information that could be potentially leveraged by what we call a threat actor.
The case is being handled by the RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, but they note there is no threat to the Prime Minister's safety or national security. For its part, RBC says it independently identified unauthorized system access, took immediate action to engage authorities, and El Hakim is no longer employed at the bank. The bank didn't answer CTV News questions about whether high-profile client accounts are given more protection than average Canadians.
It applies to all Canadians, so it just reminds everyone that, privacy and having system to prevent, fraudulent access to anyone's file is something that we should all be concerned about.
I'm not aware of those details, actually. Yeah, but that would worry me. Yeah.
The suspect has another court appearance here in Ottawa next week. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Turning to the latest out of the UN General Assembly, Ukraine's president addressed the body today, calling for continued support for his country's defense against Russia.
This comes one day after U.S. President Donald Trump's remarkable U-turn when he said he believed Ukraine could win back all of its lost territory. CTV's Judy Trin reports from New York.
We are now living through the most destructive arms race in human history.
Even as Ukraine's president warned about the escalating dangers of unchecked AI-controlled drones, Vladimir Zelensky said the less advanced version of the weapons was enabling his country to hold back Moscow's might.
Ukraine doesn't have the big fat missiles dictators love to show off in parades, but we do have drones that can fly up to 2,000-3,000 kilometers.
Zelensky cited success in destroying Russian assets in the Black Sea and key infrastructure. His comments come as the American president takes a harsher tone toward the Kremlin. In the past week, Russian drones and fighter jets have flown into the airspace of Poland and Estonia, NATO members.
Do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do. After Tuesday's face-to-face, Donald Trump made a remarkable U-turn. He posted on social media that after getting to understand the Ukraine-Russia military-economic situation, he now believes Ukraine can win back all of its territory. Previously, Trump had said ending the war would require Ukraine giving up territory it had lost. The prime minister said that Vladimir Putin had proven he could not be trusted.
The president, however, has made very sincere and multiple efforts to try to establish peace. He has used his longstanding relationship with President Putin in those efforts to try to establish peace. Putin has failed on every occasion, every opportunity.
Trump has called on nations to put secondary sanctions on countries that buy Russian oil. Prime Minister Mark Carney said G7 countries are discussing such economic measures to put additional pressure on Putin to end the war. Judy Trin, CTV News, New York.
Turning now to a search for answers in Texas after a shooting this morning at an immigration facility. Officials say 2 people were killed and 1 was left in critical condition.
This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
FBI Director Kash Patel shared an image of bullet casings with the words anti-ICE written on one of them. ICE is short for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agency has been at the forefront of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Although the people killed in today's shooting were migrants, Texas Senator Ted Cruz tied the incident to the way some critics have targeted immigration officials directly.
This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences.
The 29-year-old gunman died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Spain and Italy say they will be sending military vessels to protect an international flotilla looking to deliver aid to Gaza. This comes after the group of ships reported it was hit by drones off the coast of Greece. The group says it was sailing in international waters when they were hit by unidentified drones and communications jammers. They also reported multiple explosions, but say no one was hurt. Israel has said it won't allow the vessels to reach Gaza. It didn't comment on whether it was responsible for the drones. Today, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said he would send a military warship to protect citizens' right to sail safely in the Mediterranean. Italy said it would activate a Navy frigate to be on hand for possible rescue operations. But PM Giorgia Meloni said the flotilla's plans were gratuitous, dangerous, and irresponsible. She urged the group to accept a deal to transfer the aid over in Cyprus. Meanwhile, in Gaza today, medics reported at least 50 people killed across the territory, most of them in Gaza City. Israeli forces have been pushing into the area despite international condemnation, with the military saying it's a Hamas stronghold and urging civilians to flee south. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have done so, but many have not, amid safety fears and widespread hunger. Meanwhile, in southern Israel today, at least 20 people were injured after a drone strike launched from Yemen. Officials said the projectile hit a hotel in the Red Sea resort city of Eilat. Local reports suggested air defense systems failed to intercept the drone. The Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen claimed responsibility. The group has fired a steady volley of attacks at Israel, which has responded with airstrikes.
The world's most powerful tropical cyclone of the year slammed ashore in southern China today after 17 people died in Taiwan. Typhoon Ragasa also lashed Hong Kong with ferocious winds and heavy rain. The typhoon is racing towards one of China's biggest oil refining cities. Authorities issued warnings about storm surges of up to 2.8 meters in some areas.
For the first time in 30 years, RCMP officers are getting an update to their uniform shirts. The service says it's working to modernize the uniforms worn by members, and it will be rolling out these new navy blue shirts on a province-by-province basis, starting in Prince Edward Island next month. The RCMP says the process will take 18 months, and so some officers will still be wearing the original gray shirts for a while.
A loss last night didn't exactly help the Blue Jays in their quest to clinch the AL East.
But fans aren't giving up hope. The team can get it done during their final homestand against the Red Sox. CTV's Raheem Ladani has more.
Year hits it, fouls.
After the Blue Jays' frustrating 4-1 loss to the Red Sox Tuesday night, Jays fans are feeling
awful right now, but they're going to come through.
Well, a little apprehensive, you know. Still got a little work to do.
The deadline to get that work done is closing in, and the Jays have lost 5 of their last 6 games. The Blue Jays' magic number to clinch the AL East pennant remains at 4, with 5 games remaining. Meanwhile, the New York Yankees are now just 1 game back of Toronto.
It has been gut check time. The nerves are in full force. Not exactly the time of year you want to suddenly see your offense dry up.
Go Jays! Not everyone is hitting the panic button, though. Cheryl from Chilliwack, BC, is celebrating her 70th birthday, and she and her husband George have complete confidence.
They always come back, or
Jays.
mostly always come back.
Our Jays are rocking it.
And then there's diehard Jays fan Peter from the United Kingdom, who's trying to keep perspective.
The trouble is, we've done so well that anything other than winning the division now feels like a loss. You know, we're in the playoffs with the first team in the league to be confirmed. So we shouldn't be too down on ourselves, even if it doesn't work out with the Yankees.
Regardless of where the Jays finish, there will be playoff baseball in Toronto, which fans say is
priceless.
Tickets go on sale to the general public Thursday morning, and everyone wishes they could be there.
I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick, and I'd love to see a playoff game. I'd really love to be in that atmosphere, but unfortunately it's not going to happen.
But no matter how the standings shake out, Toronto knows October baseball is coming. Raheem Ladani, CTV News.
Coming up, America's pastime catches up with modern tech as robotic umpires have been deployed to join Major League Baseball. Will the change be a home run or a strikeout?
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you're in the market for a used car, prices have been creeping up. If you're shopping for a vehicle, you also don't want to get pressured into expensive dealership add-ons or sign an expensive long-term loan. All of that story, that's just it.
Well, after another round of rain and possible thunderstorms tonight, we will be waking up to cloud cover, but a mostly dry day tomorrow. Then we're in for a pattern change, and it arrives just in time for the weekend. We're going to talk about this, and we have a new tropical storm to tell you about. That's coming up. Stay with us. We've also got another night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Trade and tariff tensions have been keeping the price of new cars high, which is why more buyers are looking at the used car market if they need a vehicle.
That's causing used car prices to rise. And when you're shopping for one, you'll also be pitched add-ons that can also drive up the cost of your purchase. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. Owning a car is expensive. Monthly payments, insurance, maintenance, and fuel, which is why you want to keep your costs under control. Picking the right used car and not getting pressured into options you don't need can really help your budget. With the average price of a new car in Canada over $66,000, according to Auto Trader, more shoppers have turned to the used car market, trying to avoid big loans.
I saved about $30,000 doing so. With that money, I got to put towards the vehicle, and I had money left over for other needs.
With the used market currently tighter than usual, it's keeping prices higher.
When there aren't many cars available, but lots of people are looking, prices go up. It's supply and demand, so buyers need to be strategic in order to find that good deal.
Along with paying more for a used car, you'll face added pressure from some dealers to pay for expensive options you may not need.
That's because many of the products and services are very high profit. In many cases, they make more profit on the add-ons than the vehicle itself.
When signing a contract to purchase, you could be pitched warranty plans, gap insurance, paint and interior protection, rust proofing, VIN etching, tire and rim protection, and anti-theft devices. Don't feel pressured to purchase these options without making sure they're a good value. Many aren't. Before you go to a dealer, you may want to get pre-approved for a loan at your bank and check your credit score. If you agree to a higher interest rate loan, the financing could add thousands to the cost of the car.
New cars, you can find interest rates anywhere from 2 to 5%, whereas used cars, it's typically between 7 to 10%. So that really eats away at any savings you get on the price of the car itself.
Do your research to find a vehicle that's safe, fuel efficient, and dependable. Consumer Reports gave high marks to the 2019 Toyota Corolla, 2018 Mazda CX-5, and 2019 Toyota Camry Hybrid. Also get a Carfax vehicle history report and consider having the car checked by your own mechanic. Taking your time and making the right decisions in advance can save you money down the road. And there is no cooling off period in Ontario when buying a car, so don't sign a contract unless you're positive you want it. Read over the contract carefully and question any costs you don't understand. If they don't make sense, don't agree to them. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
And we have an update to a story Pat brought us on Monday. Toronto police have now issued a warning about a phishing scam that targets university students. As Pat showed us, one family lost $3,000 after receiving an email saying a student would be kicked out of school if the money was not paid. Toronto police say the scam is targeting University of Toronto students and warns payments should never be made to personal email accounts or third-party services like Gmail or Hotmail.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. Yeah, gray skies. We had rain, but at least it wasn't too chilly outside, even though it looks pretty bad.
We're feeling, September warmth. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the humidity today. Definitely not good for the hair. But also, I got to think that all the rain, maybe this evening, not good for plans like soccer and any sports that people's have.
Well, exactly. Another evening likely to be impacted by some rain, some thunderstorms. And you make a good point. It was mostly dry today, but it was very humid. And it's not really typical for this time of year. It's not the vibe, if you will. still for late September and heading into early October, but we are going to continue to feel humid here even once the rain comes to an end. Let me show you what it looked like this morning. We had a bit of a foggy start to the day, so much so that typically from this shot you can see the Toronto skyline, but not today. That low cloud was with us for a good portion of the day, and now as we make our way into the evening, we're going to get into some of this active weather in the form of showers, rain, and maybe some thunderstorms with heavy downpours. First, though, I want to update you on a disturbance that the National Hurricane Center now says is organized enough for them to call it Tropical Storm Umberto. And there is still quite a bit of uncertainty with how much this storm is going to strengthen and the track of it, but we have to point out that at this point, all indications show that it could creep its way toward the North American shoreline. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. And just an update on Hurricane Gabrielle. It has weakened. It is now a Category 2 hurricane, but it is going to move across the Azores and eventually, as a post-tropical low, impact the coast of Portugal. So something worth watching if you have travel plans heading into this weekend. Here's what we are looking at a little closer to home as we make our way through the night tonight. This wet weather is inching its way into the GTA. It's been very unsettled today for areas west of here, north of here, and southwest of here. And it's our turn in the Greater Toronto area as we progress through the evening hours and in some cases into the overnight. Tomorrow, still a possibility of some wet weather, but it is expected to be a drier day. There's around 11 o'clock tonight, so plan on the rain impacting us ahead of that. But this is where we could experience some thunderstorms, some heavy downpours, maybe some rumbles of thunder waking you up a little later tonight. Tomorrow, we will start off with some cloud cover. Again, the chance of showers is there, but it also looks like we'll get into some clearing as early as tomorrow afternoon. Chance of a shower continuing into your Thursday evening, and then Friday is looking great. This is when we turn the page and say goodbye to some of the wet weather and hello to some sunshine for a few days. Right now it is 21 degrees, but it feels like 26 in the city of Toronto. Overnight tonight, warm once again, 18 degrees. That's well above seasonal. There's tomorrow, so starting off with some cloud, chance of showers into the afternoon and evening, but also some clearing, some sunny breaks, hopefully daytime highs in the low 20s, feeling into the upper 20s. And as we make our way into the weekend, it's possible that our temperature could climb all the way to about 25 degrees. That's for Sunday. Feeling like 31. Look at all the sunshine Friday, Saturday, Sunday, into the early part of next week too. But hello Wednesday, a daytime high of about 17 degrees. That's much more typical of this time of year. That's a forecast for now. Michelle, over to you.
Love it. Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, calls to better protect athletes. Brain injuries are trending down, but the majority are related to sports. Experts raise concerns and push to expand concussion legislation.
A new report suggests brain injuries linked to sports are more common than previously thought.
CTV's John Musselman has more on the efforts to keep players safe.
The key finding in this study shows that sports and recreational brain injuries are more prevalent than previously thought. The data shows that about 37% of brain injuries reported between 2010 and 2019 in Ontario hospitals were related to sports and recreational activities. That's more than triple the previous estimate of 12%. The positive news is that brain injuries dropped nearly 10% following the introduction of Rowan's Law. It was named in honor of Ottawa teen rugby player Rowan Stringer, who died from second impact syndrome in 2013.
If there's a player who's suspected of having a brain injury, you need to remove that player from play immediately and make sure that they're checked by a healthcare professional before they return. And this was the information that would have saved Rowan Stringer's life.
Dr. Jesse Young is a researcher with CAMH and the lead author of this study.
I think my biggest surprise was how prevalent sports and recreation related traumatic brain injury is, particularly because we're looking at hospital treated traumatic brain injury. So if you think about the total burden, it's likely much larger than what we were able to observe in the study, because we only observed those who consider it or have symptoms that prompt them to seek care. And we know that many people who have traumatic brain injury, whether it's sports related or otherwise, don't actually seek care for those symptoms.
Ontario has absolutely been the leader in Canada on this, and at the recent FPT meeting in August, Minister Lumsden stood up and asked the other provinces to think about adopting Rowan's Law.
The legislation sets out a framework for how parents, coaches, trainers, and athletes should respond if a brain injury is suspected during sports or recreational activities. John Musselman, CTV News.
Health Canada is joining the list of agencies pushing back against the Trump administration claims linking Tylenol to autism. Health Canada says, quote, there is no conclusive evidence that using acetaminophen as directed during pregnancy causes autism or other neurodevelopmental disorders. The agency adds it's still the recommended treatment of pain and fever in pregnancy, warning that not treating those symptoms can pose risks to the unborn child. Acetaminophen is the generic name for Tylenol. Trump made the unproven claims about the drug at a news conference earlier this week. Well, he's back after a week-long suspension. Late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel returned to the airwaves.
As CTV's Andrea Case reports, he was defiant, apologetic, funny, and at times emotional. And while the ratings aren't in yet, his return has been viewed more than 50 million times on his YouTube channel.
Last night, when Jimmy Kimmel returned to the show that bears his name...
Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted...
He did so with a nod to the original night show host, Jack Parr, who in 1960 walked off the set after NBC censors cut a joke he had told. Parr returned a month later with these words.
As I was saying before I was interrupted...
Kimmel, who was suspended last week, didn't have to wait that long.
I understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't...
The suspension came after backlash over his comments on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. He had these words for Kirk's widow.
On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow.
Approximately 20% of U.S. networks are still not airing Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Tonight, I'm back and I missed you.
Owned by Nexstar and Sinclair, including those in Washington, D.C., Seattle, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Syracuse, New York.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Canadian singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan, who signed a joint letter with 400 other celebrities in support of Kimmel's return, was the musical guest.
You come back to me begging, why'd you leave? Tell me why. How could you let this go?
A lot of people have been asking me if there are conditions for my return to the air, and there is one. Disney has asked me to read the following statement.
And what would a Tonight Show monologue be without poking fun at the situation?
To reactivate your Disney Plus and Hulu account.
You had no ratings.
Well, I do tonight.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
Also tonight, a federal government policy clash. Plans to sell off surplus office space at odds with the push to get workers back in the office, rolling back billions in potential savings.
There are reports Washington wants to invest in a Canadian company. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more on that and the other business headlines.
The U.S. could take a stake in a Canadian mining company operating in the U.S. Lithium Americas is developing a copper mine in Nevada. The company's in the process of renegotiating a $2.3 billion U.S. loan from the U.S. Energy Department. As part of that, Washington may be considering taking a 10% stake in the company, like it recently did with Intel. Here's a look at how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar down to $71.95. West Texas Intermediate up $1.40 to $64.81. Western Canadian Select is up over $1 to $51.70, and the TSX is down 58 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
As Premier Ford orders more Ontario civil servants back to the office, similar changes on the federal level have thrown a wrench in Ottawa's plans to get rid of some of its real estate. A briefing for the minister in charge of government transformation says recent developments have undermined the goal of offloading half its office portfolio by the year 2034. Last year's budget projected a savings of nearly $4 billion over the next decade by reducing the federal office footprint. Now the government sees a savings of $2.5 billion by unloading just a third of its office space. The briefing says the original plan was affected by the increase in employees who now need office space and the updated directive setting out how many days they have to be in the office.
Stats Canada says the country's population saw near zero growth for a second straight quarter. The agency says the population reached an estimated 41.6 million people on July 1st, an increase of just 47,000 or 0.1% compared with April 1st. The number of births across Canada surpassed the number of deaths by more than 13,000 during that time. Combined with more than 33,000 immigrants arriving in the country, it's the second lowest growth rate for a three-month period since the second quarter of 2020, when growth nearly halted because of border restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Stats Canada is also out with its updated list of the most popular baby names, and a couple of familiar choices dominate the charts. For the 9th year running, Olivia is the most popular name for girls, while Noah tops the list for boys for the 4th straight year. Runners-up were Liam and Charlotte. However, Sophia with a PH and Sophia with an F came in separately in 5th and 6th. If combined, that name would topple Olivia's reign as most popular. As Blue Jays and Red Sox fans count down to tonight's game, Major League Baseball is moving ahead with planned changes to the sport.
Automated umpires will be making their debut next season. CTV's Adrian Gabriel was at Rogers Center with a preview of the technology.
But it's a strike, and again, not reviewable. Oh, boy. And then that call goes against them.
In baseball, 3 strikes is always meant you're out.
That ball a good 3 inches off the outside corner.
Often leading to close quarter disagreements.
They are yelling at each other like this close, like face to face. The really immature managers are kicking dirt on the ump.
And Billy is not going to go quietly. They've been sort of like Supreme Court justices. There has been no higher court.
That will change as of next season. Major League Baseball confirming that each team will get 2 chances to challenge a ball or a strike as it ushers in the era of robot umpiring using an automated ball strike system known as ABS.
This is a very good day for baseball fans, because the last thing you want is games ended because of a bad call.
Utilizing a dozen cameras positioned around the field, ABS technology is also being used in tennis and football. The league says it will take no more than 15 seconds for a challenged pitch to be decided.
And the average replay challenge took 13.8 seconds. And there's only 4 challenges in the course of a game. So we're literally talking about 57 seconds added to a game.
Baseball pundits say the move can't come soon enough.
Baseball's been going on since the 19th century. Baseball's been going on since before the First World War. And now they're finally doing this.
It's important to note that the human element of the game will remain unchanged. Umpires will still be behind home plate. Those we spoke with, though, hope this will encourage the men in black to step up their game. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
It's cooking up to be a very tasty celebration of Chinese culture.
A downtown restaurant is gearing up to give away 2,000 dumplings. CTV's Jessica Smith digs into the festivities.
It's a celebration of culture, community, and food.
Food is a language, a universal language that many people understand. In Hong Kong, dumpling is called also many dim sum, right? And it is a celebration of togetherness.
Dim Sum King in the heart of Toronto's Chinatown neighborhood is getting ready to celebrate World Dim Sum Day, September 26th, by giving away 2,000 dumplings for free.
This is the one that we're giving away.
The one to give away. This one, and this one. That's the chicken dumpling. That's the shrimp signature dumpling. And that's the veggie dumpling.
Sharing in community one delicious dumpling at a time, preparations are already underway.
The most important that's the freshness for the dim sum and the ingredient. They keep it simple and traditional.
Toronto is a cultural melting pot with some delectable dim sum options, but if you ask Kelvin Chung, owner of Dim Sum King.
So, who makes the best dumplings in Toronto?
I think Dim Sum King.
The special about Chinese dumpling is that it is not just a meal, it's a social ritual. This is something that you do with your friends, with your loved ones, and with people you're close with.
The World Dumpling Day celebrations and free dumpling giveaway begin here at Dim Sum King on Friday at 9 a.m. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Now we have to have dumplings.
I want dumplings for dinner. Ooh, it'd be a great night to have dumplings and stay inside and watch some TV.
Oh, I think so. You know, the rain's just getting started in the west end of the GTA now. We'll take one more look at the radar to show you. Heads up in Burlington, Oakville. This wet weather is headed your way. And yes, it is going to eventually impact all of the GTA, maybe in a couple of hours for downtown Toronto. Here's your dog park forecast for tomorrow. It's been a little more unsettled this week, so you might find it's getting a little muddier. It's been quite dry, as we know, for weeks. Aside from that, tomorrow's high, 23 degrees. It's going to feel warmer than that. Hey, it's looking like a great weekend to head to parts of cottage country. Lots of sun expected this weekend to check out the fall foliage. And there's one more look at the 7-day forecast. Michelle and Nathan.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's it for us. But be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.